editors want to attract your attention in the newsstand so that you buy them. And so this could work as a positive thing if you want to use them as mnemonics. And another advantage is that you can find them on a variety of topics. So if your user is more interested in sports, you could find mnemonics for the user from sports headlines, or if they're more interested in a stock market, you could find news from the economics news and so forth. And another advantage is that they're abundant. There are so many newspapers, and you can also reach them from the web. So you can actually create a large collection of newspaper headlines very easily. And also they're available in many languages, which is very important if you want this to be portable to other countries and other languages. So let's look at an example newspaper headline. This is from New York Times. Red Cross volunteer is arrested in theft of debit cards for aid. So if you use the first letters of the words in this sentence, you get RCVATDCA, which looks pretty random. And if you use the second letters, you get another random sequence of letters. And if you use the third letters, you could use another random sequence. So you could potentially use these headlines as mnemonics. But there are challenges while using the newspaper headlines. Well, of course, we said that we can build a large collection of headlines to use as mnemonics. But the problem is that, as you remember, we have a huge password space. Actually, you can never store that many headlines. So you cannot store one headline per password. And another problem is that the newspaper headlines are public. They are in the newsstands. So you cannot assume that they are actually secret information. So you have to be very careful when you're using this kind of public information as your mnemonic, because the adversary can use the same information to break your password. And the newspaper headlines have regularities beyond the daily language, because they have to adhere to a specific style, and they use a restricted vocabulary for their for the words they use. Here's the system that we have proposed in the AXAC by Sundar Jayaraman. In this system, first a collection the newspaper headlines are collected in a corpus, and a random password generator generates passwords that can. And what we do is, for the generated passwords, we do a search in the corpus to find out whether we can find the mnemonic sentence as a headline in the corpus. Obviously, most of the passwords are just go to the trash bin, because we cannot find mnemonic sentences for those passwords. So what we propose in that paper is that instead of just using the headlines by themselves, we can produce a huge set of variants of those headlines by using linguistic transformations, and reduce the number of rejected passwords substantially. So let's look at what we mean by these sentence variants. Here, our example sentence is: Uzbekistan courts foreign oil investors. Our system first does a part of speech annotation, and finds out that this is this sentence. The first word is a noun, the second word is a verb, the third is an adjective, and a noun and another noun. And what we do is we do a lookup in the WordNet, which is a collection of words and their relationships in English words and their relationships. So we do a lookup for Uzbekistan with in the noun sense, and we find out that actually there are related words in the WordNet that have the same sense. So we found out that maybe we can replace Uzbekistan with Afghanistan, Bahrain, China, or India. And then we do the same search for courts, and we find out that chases, solicits, romances, and partners and users are slightly related to this word, and so on. So what we have is, in this case, we create a table of the words that can be used as replacement words of the original sentence. And we use these replacement words to find out a large number of sentences. So if you look at this, in this case, we have a small table, but the number of sentences that we can generate from this table is the number that you get by multiplying the number of words in each column. So here is an example sentence. China solicits international petroleum financiers. Another is India partners foreign fuel oil businessmen, and Bahrain romances international Greaselanders. So the assumption is that if the original sentence is memorable, if it has a story, the derived sentences will also have a story, and they might be memorable by the users. And what the user does is, as soon as they remember their mnemonic sentence, they just extract the first letters of this mnemonic sentence, and that would be their password. Of course, obviously, this scheme has limitations. First of all, the password alphabet is only consisting of lowercase symbols. And we know that ideally we want uppercase characters as well as symbols and numbers in a random password. And also, it's hard to provide long passwords because, in that case, you have to have a sentence of at least 8 words, and the newspaper headlines tend to be short. Fortunately, you can find a large number of newspaper headlines that go more than 8 words. And because of these limitations, you can only achieve a partial coverage of the potential password space. And because of the limitation of our sentence generation scheme, some of the sentences that we produce are not grammatical. And another drawback is that the sentences that we generate this way are hard to, we cannot easily evaluate the quality of these passwords. That is, we cannot find out whether they're memorable or they're even grammatical after we produce them. And another drawback is that we have seen that most of the users have many passwords to remember, and in this case, the user has to remember a different mnemonic for every different password. So, in the rest of the presentation, we're going to talk about how can we overcome these limitations. As a clue, we are going to investigate whether we can write down these passwords, and we're trying to find out whether we can do this without compromising from the security of our passwords. Jasper Johansson and Bruce Schneier have suggested writing down your passwords. So if you write down your passwords they become, rather than something you know, they become something you have. And the rationale behind it is you rarely lose your credit cards, and you're actually good at, well, I see someone smiling. So maybe a lot of us are good in keeping a piece of paper secret, and it might be a good idea to actually let your users write down